Welcome back to E-Magazine. Now, last year was the year that put beauty pageants on a pedestal. And today on E-Magazine, we want to talk about whether Kenyan pageantry can give out weighted gifts to competitors within that space. And joining me today to have this conversation with me is the one and only Paynet. And she is the founder of a modeling agency as well as a modeling and pageantry trainer. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
How's your new year so far?
Interesting. We just had auditions and people came. Like there are so many models in Nairobi, and I'm actually glad.
They're ready to take over 2020.
Yes.
That's amazing. Now, Paynet, I just want to begin by for us just to look at around the benefits on beauty pageants, and what are some of the benefits that come in competing in these beauty pageants, especially with focus in Kenya.
The thing about beauty pageantry is it's your introduction to the industry. Before I started modeling, I did a pageant. I did Miss Kenyatta University, total disaster. And then, because I got trained then. So you see, the whole idea of learning, getting the basics, knowing the industry, that is where you learn with pageantry. And then from then on, I moved on to Miss World Kenya in 2013. And you learn totally different thing, by the way. Learning in campus, yes, but then when you go to now the national
real world
platform, it's totally different. And what I learned then, that is what made me become a trainer. Now, for competing in Miss Kenyatta University, then Miss World, and now chaperoning Miss World, I can tell you for a fact that the industry needs pageantry, because that is where you learn everything. When you come into the industry, many people don't even know fashion, pageantry, commercial. You don't know all that. You
don't even know the difference.
Exactly. But then now when you start learning at pageantry level, that's when now you get introduced into the industry, you know the different types of modeling, you know where you want to go, and then eventually you know, okay, fine, what you need to do to make it in that, whatever you decide to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from your experience, in the pageant industry, and now being on the other side and teaching them, would you advise young girls to go to these platforms?
Yes.
100%.
But then also go learn. You see, when I went into Miss World, and this I've never told anyone this. When I went into Miss World, I remember feeling like I was the least qualified and the least deserving. Simply because I came from a background where modeling was not really accepted in my family. My mom really never wanted me to go. So when I came in, I was like, I'm going to do my best to learn. Especially coming from the village, because I was like, I come from the village, you come to Nairobi, things are different, people acting different, people behave differently. And I really wanted to learn how to be a lady. Let me say that. Wanted to learn how to be a lady. And our training was intense because we were in boot camp for a month, and we had catwalk classes, we have communication classes, we had etiquette, fine dining, we had psychologists to actually just help us with mental health. So for me, it was very holistic, and I was like, I'm here to learn. So making it all the way was a plus, because I was like, if they decide to drop me, fine. But then I really wanted to make it to the end to learn. So yes, I would advise you to go for the beauty pageantry, but be very selective of the kind of pageantry you're going for. Because Kenya, we have a lot of pageants. We have Miss Westlands, Miss what, as in...
Miss Westlands, I've never heard of that one. So you can't audition for that one if you're not from Westlands?
I don't know. Yeah, so you have to really
be selective with
because with pageantry we have the big four. Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss Earth, and Miss International. Those are the big four pageants in the world. So if you're going to do pageantry, go to a pageant that has a structure, that okay, fine, when I win this, there's another level. It's not just gonna end
like that.
In Kenya, I mean...
And would you say a lot of pageantries in Kenya do have structures? Like, can these, individuals, these young girls who compete in these pageants, have something they do after they finish their reign?
No.
Wow.
Because
Why
if you look at previous crown holders, sometimes you ask yourself, okay, what are they doing, or where are they?
Some just disappear.
Because you remember growing up, before I even came to Miss World, I remember Cecilia Mwangi. Everyone knows Cecilia Mwangi for jiggers, and in as much as the campaign came after, you see, she did something with her crown. She did something after the crown,
Yes.
after handing over the crown.
Yes.
And people still talk about her. There's another queen who became a musician. You know, there's another, as in, we've had queens who actually go after it, but then the support, I guess probably it's the support, because with Miss Universe, you've seen when Gigi went, then she came back and now she runs Miss Universe Kenya.
She does, 100%.
Yes.
She's doing a lot of things.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I think it's you to push yourself, unfortunately. It's you to find a way for yourself. And so you have to make sure that during your reign, you make the right connections. So that when you hand over, you know, okay, look at Magdalene. Magdalene won Miss World Africa, came back. She now works for Magical Kenya. You know, that is...
And she's like an international modeler now.
Yes. So at the end of the day, I can't say that there is that solid structure where there is, okay, you win, you hand over, you go here. But then you have to work for yourself, unfortunately. Yes.
Quite crazy. Now, the reason I just want to go back on the point where you talked about, you know, also support is an important thing to help them elevate into the next level. And now, you know, when you look at different spaces, like when you look at the States, they have quite a million beauty pageants, actually. You can't even compare it to us. Places like South Africa, you even mentioned earlier on, Nigeria is doing pretty well in the pageantry industry. When these young girls, when you take the crown home, when you become the winner, there's actually really good prizes that you look forward to after that.
Yes.
Would you say it's the same with Kenya? And if not, why so?
I feel like, first of all, most people don't understand the struggle that these people go through to actually win a crown.
I can imagine. People think modeling is very easy.
Oh my gosh. First of all, from let alone training. You know, training is, you have to train, yeah? But then the sacrifice of finding clothes. Fine, for Miss World and Miss Universe, they will, even Miss Tourism, you will be dressed, yeah? But then for other pageants, like campus pageants, you have to find your own everything. Sometimes they give you 7 categories: introduction, then CG, creative, as in there's a list of categories. You have to source that out for yourself, and you're like, once you win, you get 5,000. You're like, really?
Wow.
Really? I really
just 5, and
I spent like 20,000. You're giving me 5,000. What
how they
for?
Compensate you.
Unfortunately, and unfortunately as well, people consider bragging rights a reward.
Just to write
Just
that out,
because-
Miss, you know, KU, Miss USIU.
But then you see, depending again, that's why I said go for a pageant that has value.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if Miss World walked in somewhere, people will listen because she is Miss World. If Miss Universe walked in, she is Miss Universe. But then the pageant that you're doing, if you walked in somewhere and you said, I miss this, will people want to listen to you? So yes, in as much as we do expect to get rewarded,
Yes.
unfortunately, the reward nowadays is quite, it's not as kitambo, it's not as it used to be. Because I remember my time when Wangoi won Miss World, she got 1 million Kenya shillings. And plus benefits, of course, Ashley's Academy, Ashley's Hoifa and Spa gave her 300,000 worth of hair and makeup, plus other services, beauty services. So for her, yes. I remember some guys have gone home. Susan Anyango went home with a car. So at the end of the day, yes, there is that. But after the pageant, you know, with 1 million, there's only so much you can do.
Very true.
There's only so much you can do. Other countries, Nigeria, the moment you win, there is a car in the house waiting for you.
Kind of how South Africa is the same thing.
Exactly. Plus a cash award, plus an all expense paid trip. And there's benefits from people who just want to work with you because, you know, commercials and all these things. Then I also feel because of how we price in Kenya and how they price. I'm not sure about how we price in Kenya, but I know that if you want to hire a beauty queen, you have to set aside money for the crown, then set aside money for her.
That's how it should work.
Then the agency. Because you see, there's 3 people you have to set money aside for. The manager, the model, and the crown.
Wonderful. Now, still on the prizes, actually, I want to go through the list of Miss Universe prizes just a little bit compared to the Miss World America. But before we do that, you know, you mentioned that back in the day, you know, beauty pageants, they were on a different level. I feel like people used to see it differently, used to see the value in it. What do you think changed over the years? Why are we where we are today with the beauty industry right now?
Honestly, I think people got tired of putting in money. And then, you see, the thing about pageantry, it's about opinion. I like you, I don't like you. You see, and in as much as sometimes you sit down and you're like, no, she has a good catwalk, she has a good personality. Sometimes she has, if I don't like you, I don't like you. It doesn't matter if you have the whole package. If I don't like you, I don't like you. So unfortunately for us, sometimes you find some people will invest in the pageantry because they want someone to win, and then unfortunately they don't win. So the next year they withdraw.
They don't do the same thing.
So you find that it's becoming more difficult for them to get sponsors, because if you had sponsors, we'd be on TV
everywhere.
If you're on TV, people will watch. Because I remember, I think 2013 or 2014 was the last time
they used to air beauty pageants on Citizen. Yes,
they used to air it. And you see, I don't know what happened.
Wow.
Because then, the moment it stopped going on TV, people stopped following
and wondering what's happening.
Yeah,
and then you see a Miss Universe, you're just okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And you see, a long time ago, when I was growing up, Miss World used to be like the first lady of Kenya.
Yes.
Like, she'd go everywhere. Where Moi is, she'd be there with flowers, receiving guests. You know, when Moi is traveling, the president is traveling. And nowadays, we struggle to even get to State House.
Wow.
You know, we expect that when Miss World or Miss Universe is crowned, as in State House will be the first to call them.
Yeah, I mean, growing up watching Miss World, Miss Universe, I used to see them as an ambassador for the country. So it's a big title, honestly speaking. Now I just want to go name a few on the list of the Miss Universe winner prizes. For example, Miss Universe now Zozibini Tunzi is getting a year-long salary. Just a salary for being a Miss Universe. She has an accommodation at New York City, an apartment. She's getting professional nutrition consultation, dental services, access to events. Wow, she actually has a lot. Now, if I was to list in Kenya what we win, what would come on the list? What's the cash prize for example, winning a Miss World or Miss Universe?
Okay, I only know about Miss World. I don't know about Miss Universe. Miss World, you know, nowadays it's Miss and Miss World.
Miss and Miss World, okay.
Yes. Before that, it was purely Miss World.
Yeah,
and Miss World,
include the men.
Yes, Miss World will go home with a million.
A million
Kenyan shillings.
Now they split it half?
Yes, now they share it.
Okay.
And then still, Ashley still gives them hair and makeup. This year they got 500K worth of hair and makeup. And then I know that Safaricom came through with phones.
Yeah.
Last year, I know they were given phones. So sometimes it depends on the sponsors. But the most basic is the cash prize and the sponsorship from Ashley's for hair and makeup.
Okay, yeah. That's wonderful. Now I want to go more into the pageantry process in terms of the individuals who are chosen to go into the next round of competitions. Do you feel like when it comes to Kenyan beauty pageants, there's exclusivity when it comes to the women or the men who are allowed to participate or go forward to the competition?
I think that where we are headed right now, it's a dangerous place because we're going to overlook talent over what more can you bring to the table. Because then initially, anyone could win Miss World, anyone could win Miss Universe, anyone, and then it gets to a point where we devolve the government and we devolved so many other things.
Any other institutions that can help.
Exactly. So when people come on board, it becomes an issue of I come from this county, come from this county, I come from this county. And sometimes your county backing counts. Because then there are expenses that we need to cater for as you go abroad. And who's going to cater for that? So sometimes, yes, it boils down to what more
can you bring to the table
than just okay, fine. Yeah. You can go and win, but how will you go there first? Yeah, you have to arrive first.
How can we as Kenyans change that mentality? Because we're taking girls to compete against doctors, lawyers, very well-educated women. How can we change that?
And in as much as education matters, I think also the international platform has its own perks.
Yeah.
Because they also look at different things. Sometimes also your country backing matters.
Wow.
Because let me ask you about the social media award. A very good award, yes, because we need to know how you connect to people. But there are countries like the Philippines who they worship pageantry.
Yes, they do.
Kenyans do not care about
We
pageantry.
don't care, yeah.
And you see, if Philippines are gonna vote, then that's free marketing for the event.
Wow.
So by virtue of that, you may find yourself among the top. Yeah. If you watched Miss World 2018, it was, I think, China. She kept coming second on everything. She was number 2 for top model. She was number 2 for social media. I was like, why are they not giving her number 1? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So apparently something happened in China where Miss World went there.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, sometimes even the international pageants, they have their own issues. But what we hope when we send people is we hope that it can be a fair platform. And also, sometimes people are influenced by trends. For example, and I think a lot of people said this, did Miss World succumb to pressure? Because Miss Universe crowned
Miss Jamaica.
Yes. Did they succumb to pressure? Was it just to make sure that they can still ride on the wave of
black women winning?
Exactly. Because then it's still good marketing for the event. Because next year people will be like, okay.
Yes, more excited to I'm more excited to see more black women win.
Exactly.
So it's actually very tactical, as I can see.
Yes.
And on that note, would you generally say, you know, these competitions are very truthful? Or there's always some mischiefs in between? And doesn't that discourage, you know, young girls out there really want to see, take an opportunity in this competition to take themselves on another level?
That depends. What I can say is 80% of the competition is fair. When you go into training, when you go into your boot camp, everything else is usually like all of you are on the same level. Now the problem, like I said, pageantry is about who I like and who I am in the panel. So if I am the one who runs the pageant and I like you, chances are I can influence
the rest.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how good you are if I don't like you. Unfortunately, I don't like you. You see, unfortunately also, sometimes they look at it from a business point of view. So the 20% is opinion, because 80%, all of you will fight. Like Nigeria, Miss World, she fought, like she won so many challenges. She was number 2 for sports. She was number 1 for top model. She was among the best 15 for CSR. So I mean, those are three positions that you have like solidified your place. But then now, when it comes to now the final day, when now they're crowning, because she won Miss Africa, yes. The final day when now they're crowning.
Yes.
Why wouldn't she have won? Why didn't Nigeria win?
That's a valid question. Maybe even our audiences can answer for us and give us an opinion what they think about that. Now, moving forward, what do you think some of the sponsors should do different in order to really allow this industry, this pageantry industry, to grow? Give us an opportunity to really even get somewhere with it.
I think a lot of sponsors are tired of putting in money and not seeing value. One thing I've learned, I've tried doing events in Kenya, and Kenyans do not love going to events because going to an event is expensive, unless they're going to Koroga or something where they're going to be, you know, there's music, there's alcohol, and there's all these things. And
some musicians to
see. And people to take selfies with.
Yes.
And there's events that have actually already, I mean, Safaricom, if you put the name Safaricom anywhere, people like, let's go.
Yeah.
Because they know, they have the mentality. But the moment you're starting out as someone who's just doing an event, it's usually really hard to even sell the idea to sponsors. And I feel like sponsors have decided to pull out because you have an event, people don't show up. Yeah, even if you call Safaricom right now and tell them, we're going to sell this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then the crowd is half of what you promised.
Is that what happened? I don't know if it was the Miss World competition in 2018 or was it this year? I'm not quite sure. There's a competition where people just didn't show up.
No, this year they had people. 2018, I'm not so sure about.
I think it was 2018.
But last year
Nick Ntuma was the host.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah. I
didn't watch it. But then that is what happens, unfortunately. And then also the structure of the pageant and who's running it. Because I know that there are some sponsors who have held on to pageants and supported them for a very long time. Then eventually they just die down. Why? You know, what is it? And then sponsors don't like legal battles. As in, if you run your business smoothly and straightforward, you will have sponsors, but then it takes time. So I think a few sponsors, what they need to look at it as is supporting young people. Because at the end of the day, in as much as we say, okay, fine, she's going to Miss World, Nini, but we want to say she's going abroad sponsored by Kenya Airways. I mean, Kenya Airways should support these people. Free flights, right? To wherever they're going.
That's a hint right there.
Yeah, they should actually, because it's not fair. Let me tell you a case study. There's this guy who came from Ghana. He wanted to do a pageant in Kenya. And in Ghana, he hosts a pageant for churches. So he calls different churches together. They do a pageant. So this lady is Miss Churches, actually. And the awards, oh my gosh. The awards are crazy. So he told me once that the lady who won the previous year, that was in 2017. Now the lady who won in 2016 got sponsorship to Kenya, all expense paid trip to Kenya, and free flights by Kenya Airways. And I was like, wow. What do you mean Kenya Airways is giving flights in Ghana and not in Kenya?
That's crazy.
You know?
That's crazy. Well, I do hope, it being a new year, this space will change, because I'm a big fan of pageants and I really do want to see it grow in the future. Thank you so much, Painate, for coming and having this conversation with me, sharing your opinion about it. And now we're going to take a short commercial break, but do not go anywhere because it's a real talk today, so we get to share some trending movies and series for you. As for now, I'll see you after this break.